The biggest game and the only game right now off the field is surrounding the Carlton Football Club and notably the future of David Teauge. This is what he had to say Saturday night.
I understand the club's going to make a decision. Let's be honest, it doesn't look like it's going to go in my favour. But in terms of what I've done and what I've been able to control, I know who I am, I know why I've done it, I'm really happy with that.
Was there a better way to handle this from a transparency perspective over the last week or so?
To be honest, I love this club. I don't want to sit up here and say anything, but when the review gets announced through the media, that's not high performance. And I'm going to challenge, I'm going to call it out, that this footy club have got some areas to improve. I probably challenged the other day a little bit more support, particularly when guys like you, Tom, went hard at me and were potting me the whole time. I would have loved some people to come out and back me in. It hurt when people said that I didn't have relationships with the players, or I'd lost relationships with the players. Where that one probably dug a little bit deep because it's not true.
Well, this is a mess of the highest order. Carlton look like a laughingstock right now. It's a debacle, and to find out why it's a debacle, Tom Morris rejoins us. Welcome, Tom.
Yeah, thanks, Jared. As we sit here tonight, the Carlton board is split in three ways. If they can get Alistair Clarkson, you can lock that in, take that to the bank. Alistair Clarkson will be their coach next year. But if he says no, they're split on Ross Lyon. And now there's a small but vocal section of the board that are actually keen to reject Ross Lyon. And this is primarily because there's concerns about the way things finished at the Fremantle Dockers. And this leaves Teague, I think at the moment, with a very small but also a fighting chance to actually keep his job. Now, this has changed from a couple of weeks ago where he was absolutely gone. He had exit meetings today. He saw the review today. He'll have exit meetings tomorrow. It is business as usual. And Luke Sayers, the president, released a statement just telling everyone to calm their jets, cool down. But I've got no doubt that this is going to come to a head in the next few days. And when it does, it'll be Ross Lyon versus David Teauge, presuming that Alistair Clarkson says no to Carlton.
What's been determined about Ross and his suitability in the last day that hasn't been determined in the last 3 months, if in fact they have the interest in him?
Yeah, it's a good question, Gary. Let me just say, first of all, there's no admission of any guilt or wrongdoing by Ross Lyon with what happened at Fremantle at the very end. In fact, quite the opposite. But the best way to describe it from the feeling from this small section of the board is concern around a set of circumstances relating to a female staff member at the Dockers that led to a financial settlement. They've never been fully explained, and I'm not even sure exactly what the details are of that story, only that there was a financial settlement. Now, some board members are nervous about this. It's related to the Carlton Respects program at the club, and that's why they've called on Ross. Now, others would take Ross Lyon over Teague, but there is that divide at the moment. And my last point on this is, given that Ross Lyon said last week he wouldn't go to Collingwood because it is a fractured club at the moment, I wonder whether he would not go to Carlton because the board is fractured on him over something that's been so sensitive over the last few years. It's a really interesting take at the moment from the Carlton board, and that's why they're divided. Thanks,
Tom. We'll come back to you shortly. But this is a mess. Yeah. This is a total mess. I mean, if this isn't on the radar initially before you even entertain Ross Lyon, then you haven't done your due diligence. And to pull it out now at the 11th hour and put David Teauge through what he's had to go through for a month is tantamount to a total embarrassment.
What does this say about looking after your own people at a football club? That is the number one priority, is to look after your own and make everyone feel... Football clubs talk about being like families. I mean, this is the furthest thing from it. Not only have you not given David Teague the best opportunity to succeed with assistant coaches leaving halfway through, no football director, no public support, you've made him face the most undignified 2-month period that a coach should ever have to face. Now it appears that you are only going to be as faithful to him as the options that present themselves and either accept or not accept the role. And what does that do to the other people? So the residue of resentment for those now that actually keep their jobs at Carlton, how does that affect them moving? That's right. How does that affect them moving forward?
And going further, if they've sounded out Ross Lyon, which
clearly they have.
Clearly they have.
Well, he wouldn't have gone public last week.
Gone down the path to the stage where Ross has then, publicly said what he said last week, and now, so that's the board, or whoever makes that decision, those in charge of the club, and now we're hearing that some sections of that board are going, oh, hang on a minute. I know we've gone down that path and we've sort of flushed him out and he's put it on the... and that, all the time while we've got David Teague, but now we're not sure about Ross Lyon?
It's a mess of the highest order, Gary. I mean, what does David Teague do ultimately if Clarkson says no and Ross Lyon turns around and says, Well, you're divided on me. I'm not coming. Does David Teague stay, knowing he's third in line?
He's handled himself brilliantly, by the way, and I applaud him for calling out the lack of support because,
100%.
I mean, he's always said that I want the Carlton Football Club to be as good as it possibly can. Well, at least he's given them the feedback, so next time they'll hopefully be...
They're clearly waiting for Clarko. They're buying time for Clarko. So obviously he can do his due diligence in the next week or two, however long it takes. Is there another element of the board, the new president coming in saying, Stuffy, I'm not going to be subservient to the media request, the media timeline? You know, they're just going to hold back?
I think that's an excuse. Right now I think the board's split. They didn't know they were split, and now that things have come out in recent times, all of a sudden the new president is leading a split board.
You can march to the beat of your own drum, Brownie, but not at the expense of looking after your own people.
It's been poor.
The other coach who is notionally, we're told, under some pressure is Stuart Dew. The latest there.